And you are inside the Now Morning Show here on TTT. I am Natalie Labor. It's 19 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. And we want to welcome our first guest in our Spotlight segment, the president of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, Kiran Singh, who was able to join us at extremely short notice. Good morning to you, Kiran.
Good morning, Natalie. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. It's always a pleasure to be on the number one talk show in Trinidad
I
and Tobago.
know.
I
Thank
feel
you.
privileged.
Thank you so much for joining us. So on Saturday, we got from the Prime Minister at the press conference some of the announcements that we've been longing for, which is one of the biggest sectors being reopened, not fully, but curbside pickup, and we're talking about the food sector being open. Where does the chamber stand on that? Happy for this move?
Natalie, and to the viewership across the country, this is certainly welcome news from the Prime Minister. We have been looking forward to this with a bated breath, and the fact that he has given us some opening to curbside pickup, takeaway deliveries, and home deliveries, that will certainly ease the financial pressures and burdens that the food and beverage sector has been placed in very precariously, I may add, since the onset of the pandemic. We have had a couple of openings and shutdowns, and we hope that now that as the mass vaccination program rolls out, and the fact that people are more disciplined in terms of adhering to the Ministry of Health's protocols, that the opening will continue as opposed to be seeing further restrictions as we go towards the end of the year.
Right. And, we know that a lot of people were complaining about the shutdowns, about, businesses being closed. With the reopening, do you think that in the Greater San Fernando Area of Commerce we'll see the same amount of businesses being reopened, or has that been reduced significantly because some people just weren't able to sustain themselves, 2.5 months without businesses?
Naturally, the unfortunate reality that faces us here in South Trinidad and across the country is that several food establishments, as we deal with this sector, as we disaggregate the entire industry, is that some businesses were forced to close and they're unable to reopen due to restricted financial resources. They've had to manage a lot of their own expenses out of pocket. Unfortunately, they did not get the financial assistance in the ways that we would have hoped from the government. We always understand that they always are financially cash-strapped and their resources are also limited. But the fact that us in the SME sector, which we represent, a lot of them are family-owned businesses. They are single-owner type businesses, and they were unable to source any sort of income for the last couple of months, as well as earlier in the year and late last year and so on. And that has certainly not augured well. Some businesses will just not be able to reopen. We know that some businesses, they retooled. They were very innovative in changing their method of generating income. And that, not to be left out, the supermarkets, the pharmacies, the bakeries, some of them were able to prepare cooked food, which was against the Ministry of Health's regulations, and they managed to get away with that. And that obviously placed regular food establishments at a severe disadvantage. And now that we can level the playing field a bit more, we look forward to some resuscitation of the food and beverage sector. I know we have already started seeing people breathing some sighs of relief that we are going to see some activity taking place, some commerce going to occur within the next few days. So we have enough time to prepare, to restock. We continue, though, Natalie, to lament that the banking sector should have allowed us some more latitude with soft loans, with interest rates. And it brings me to the other point that the VAT refunds, if we had gotten some more VAT refunds, it would assist us. We need the liquidity support now more than ever. We are suffering financially. And the $300 million loan that was given from the central bank to the commercial banks, it was not used up. In fact, the Minister of Finance extended the deadline for the utilization of this fund until December 31st, 2021. What we have been suggesting is that the unutilized significant portion of this fund be used to assist with VAT refunds for us within the SME sector. And that will get us rolling faster because of the due diligence that the banks put us through within the SME sector. We're not able to get all of our documents in order in time. And we really plead, we continue to plead. Let's get our VAT refunds, please.
Right. You know what? I understand that because if the monies aren't used up, if maybe it's not as easy as we think. Maybe it is, to just use that to give people their VAT refunds. But with the reopening of the food and, well, I can't even say beverage sector because bars are still closed as far as we are aware, and then you have a lot of SMEs that are still closed. So you have to ask yourself, what is going to be happening with them? When are they going to be able to reopen? Because you're talking about, I think, for the Prime Minister and the government is trying not to open businesses as yet where people converge a lot. So whether it's a closed store, but I mean, a barber salon, because you have that very close interaction, the hairdressing parlor, the printing supplies up. I mean, there are so many businesses that are still closed up to this time. So in terms of those in the Greater San Fernando area, Chamber of in the Greater San Fernando area, how are they surviving? Still being closed 2.5 months, going into 3 months.
Naturally, the harsh reality is they haven't. Some businesses have just closed permanently. They will never be able to reopen. And this doesn't only occur in the food sector, but across the entire retail industry of the entire country. Some people just did not have the financial wherewithal, and they will never, because they survive on day-to-day sales to derive income to support their families, meet their expenses. To date, Tiantec, as an example, has given us no alleviation whatsoever. They're saying you can come in and make an appointment and they will see how they can assist you. But that doesn't say anything to how are we going to get assistance? You can't walk into any of the government offices because they, for all intents and purposes, closed, except to receive payments. And when I see the WASA lines in San Fernando, it extends from one street to the other street in the hot sun and rain. Is this what our citizens are treated in this country? And all we want to do is pay our bills. Can't we get some sort of extension on the deadline? Nobody's saying we don't want to pay, but give us some time to pay. Because how are we going business when we generate economic activity and derive income from sales? We are able to pay taxes, and the taxes are used by the government to run the country. So we could be entering a vicious cycle of we're making no progress economically, and then the taxes are not satisfied. And of course, it is also welcome and good news that the Minister of Finance has a tax amnesty in place. But what we would have hoped for is an extension of the deadline past September 17th, because there are not many businesses who will have any tax to pay because there was no income being generated over the past more or less year and a half. And if this tax amnesty were to be extended into the new year, then we could see the ministry and the government benefiting from a lot of.
So you're saying there's no benefit to the business community from this tax amnesty right now with the deadline that's in place?
The larger conglomerates, especially those within the energy sector, would certainly benefit, those who do not have paid their taxes. But within the SME sector, that has not and will not help us materially right now. In the medium term, certainly, it will give us some assistance to use that cash flow to reinvigorate businesses and re-inject cash flows back into the system. But we need, I would suggest, a longer time frame for the tax amnesty. A tax amnesty is always welcome, of course, but the majority of us pay our taxes on time. It is the large conglomerates, as I keep harping on that point, that take advantage of the taxation systems in this country.
Right. But Kieran, let's talk. We just have about 5 minutes left. Let's talk about the vaccination drive, because we heard from the Prime Minister and from the Chinese ambassador that 400,000 Sinopharm vaccines are expected into the country tomorrow. what do you think this will mean in terms of the reopening of the sector and, just getting the economy back on track?
To go with the new slogan, vaccinate to operate, that is certainly welcome news for us. We look forward to the arrival of the vaccines. In fact, the San Fernando Chamber has been lobbying to get a mass vaccination site in San Fernando, and we will work together a public-private partnership with the government, with the Ministry of Health, to assist in the dissemination of vaccines in the shortest time possible. We have realized worldwide from the statistical data that has been provided that the only way out of this pandemic is to vaccinate. The vaccination fear, I don't think that really exists to a large extent. And trainees like to follow trainees. So once we have the rolls starts and more people go into the line to get vaccines, other people will follow. And we will have this vaccine being given across the board in the shortest time possible.
But we keep hearing, that, okay, vaccinate to operate, but we keep hearing that vaccination is voluntary, right? But businesses are saying vaccinate to operate. So is it that for the person who doesn't want to vaccinate, they will not be allowed to work?
Right now, it is against the law to insist or terminate someone's employment if they refuse to take a vaccine. The laws would have to be changed through the parliamentary system in order for that to occur. So I want workers and employers out there to know and to understand and to relate to this fact that you cannot force someone to take a vaccine. It is entirely up to the individual to choose to accept it or refuse it up to this present day. And I'm sure Trinidadians and Tobagonians, being intelligent people, will choose to vaccinate because it is better to have any vaccine than to have none, because it increases your chances against being infected.
Infected, yeah. Yeah. So all in all, we have the vaccines coming. You're saying that you'd like to partner, the Greater San Fernando area would like to partner with the Ministry of Health to have a mass vaccination site in San Fernando. But the numbers, when we see the numbers at the Ministry of Health press conference, it is suggesting that the people in San Fernando are getting vaccinated. But I understand having a mass vaccination site, you'll be able to roll out and get more people vaccinated in the shortest possible time.
That's correct. Also, Natalie, the County Victoria has historically had the highest, or one of the highest infection rates in countrywide. So it speaks to South Trinidad needing a greater share of the tranche of vaccines that are coming in. And if the numbers are right from what I heard in the media, we're certainly going to benefit from that in the Southland. And it will assist us because we have a lot of frontline workers already out dealing with customers across the supermarkets, the pharmacies, the bakeries, hardwares, and now the new set of businesses that are reopening this as of today and next week. So if we get these vaccines before the end of the week and start distributing it to as many citizens as possible, we will see more of the economy being reopened.
And do you believe that the reopening of the borders and citizens being able to come home and non-nationals who are vaccinated being able to travel here, that will help with the economy, the regrowth of the economy?
Of course, tourism has been hit the hardest, I would say, well, along with bars and so, but they have been hit the hardest across the economy, across the world economy, in fact. So this will certainly start to the engine, it will start the engine of growth back into the tourism sector, and that generates, of course, foreign exchange for us, which we desperately need at this time. And it will not only bring tourism into the country, but it will allow citizens to travel who have business. Some people may choose to travel to get their vaccines out of the country. We have a plethora of vaccines available now that they can easily avail themselves of, and that will certainly assist us in the local context.
Mm-hmm. And do you think Trinidad and Tobago has done well, in procuring vaccines? If you're to compare that, if that 400,000 with the 200,000 plus that has been here before, compared to other Caribbean islands?
So, there's a saying in economics and statistics. There are statistics and damn lies about statistics. And it's how you look at the numbers. But certainly, some people in Trinidad would feel disadvantaged that other Caribbean islands have been able to reopen their economies at a faster rate because they have gotten, by the number, a larger vaccine tranche as opposed to us in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, they say hindsight is 2020. What we have to look forward to is the mass vaccines that are going to come in the next day or two to ramp up to where we should have been some months ago. But the fact that we're going to get there before the last quarter of 2021, before the Christmas shopping season, where we should see, I would like to believe, a full reopening of the economy. Before that, I think we should be in good stead to regenerate commercial activity in the country.
Kieran Singh, I want to thank you so much for speaking with us this morning, and I hope we didn't wake you up too early, but thank you for showing up at such a short notice.
Sorry, Natalie, I just have one. We are hosting a free webinar on Wednesday morning this week on surviving the post-pandemic crisis in the country. We will be sending out registration details. It's for anyone in business, of course, within the SME sector, but for the entire public to tune into our link, which we will send the registration details of later. But we see this webinar as assisting us to be advised on how to come out of this crisis that we face.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Kieran Singh, and all the best with the webinar.
Thanks.
All right, Kieran Singh, they're talking to us. He's saying, listen, we want those VAT refunds. That would have helped a lot. Need a mass vaccination site in the greater San Fernando area. And of course, they have a webinar coming up this Wednesday. So stay tuned for the details so that it can advise you on how to survive and how to come out of the pandemic crisis. We take a break and we'll be back with you.